Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope everyone is doing well out there this morning and having an awesome start to your day. A great week out there so far. Here to give you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise for today, just like we always do. For a lot of areas, you're waking up to an absolute washout, and that is definitely, for me in my area, it is raining like crazy here in central South Carolina, and probably for a lot of other areas too. So we'll speak on that and how the rain is going to ride up the eastern seaboard. We'll give you some updated information on a winter weather potential for like northern Maine. And of course, for my folks in Canada, Atlantic Canada, we'll give you some updated information on a winter storm threat coming up here in the next day, day and a half, or over the next day and a day and a half. And then we'll talk about the central U.S., the western U.S. Things have quieted down for the most part out west, but we will talk about a little bit of rain in California, maybe even some thunderstorms. And after we speak on all that, and there is a severe weather threat for about 3 different places today, just a small severe weather threat, maybe even a sneaky kind of severe risk today for like South Carolina. We'll speak on that. But after we speak on all that, we'll give you some updated information from the Storm Prediction Center. And then stay tuned for tonight. I won't leave you guys hanging. We'll give you some updated information on really just a detailed breakdown of this multi-day severe weather event coming up between basically Thursday through Saturday. And yes, Saturday is definitely a severe weather day now for portions of the southeast. We'll give you some detailed information about the winter storm threat too as we get into this weekend for the northeast. But we'll talk about some information in this video too. So I'm not going to leave you hanging here if you're not a big evening person with the videos. I will touch on pretty much all the information in this video. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rocking and rolling. So we got a lot of rain across the eastern U.S. As you can tell, it's a big blob of rain across the southeast, upper southeast, starting to move into the mid-Atlantic, the Appalachian Mountain Range. We got rain up here in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, but another round of precipitation is going to move up into this area, and then cold air will crash down, delivering a winter storm for you areas up there. So we do got some snow, some snow flying around across North Dakota, even heavy at times. Little bit of moisture just kind of hanging out around the northern and central Rockies, and we do have some moisture just off the California coastline. Some of it has already moved into the central California coastline and northern California coastline. But we'll see more widespread action a little bit later on this morning, this afternoon, as this upper low, upper trough, whatever you want to call it, swings through the southern tier of the country and delivers some weather opportunities just for everybody that it impacts. So that's what's going on right now. Storm Prediction Center is 3 areas to watch. This could tweak in the next update or two. A marginal risk for central and north central and just basically northern sections of Texas. And this is really driven off pretty much a hail threat and a little bit of a damaging wind threat, but it's not a big deal at all. There's 2 marginal risks here in the southeast, one for Florida down here, basically for the, I would say the eastern and southern sections of the peninsula of Florida. This does include some higher populated areas along the eastern seaboard of Florida, Miami up to, even up to Orlando. Even over all the way over to Fort Myers, not quite to Tampa, but this could expand a little bit. And then there's a marginal risk for like Columbia, the Charleston, Myrtle Beach, just south of Wilmington, Savannah, the Orangeburg area, almost up to Augusta. We need to watch for some storms later on this evening in this area, and we'll kind of have a very quick separate segment for that. But the tornado threat, it really just likes this area. We'll see if we'll get an upgrade to a 2% risk here in South Carolina. We'll have to watch for that. Little mini triple point might be met in South Carolina today, North Carolina. 2% risk of a tornado. Do not ignore these 2% risk areas. Guys, if you live along the eastern and southeastern shorelines of Florida and just inland, this does include Miami, Fort Lauderdale up to Melbourne, you guys have a 2% risk of a tornado threat. There's those winds, 5% winds respectfully for all 3 of these areas, and then the hail threat kind of the same deal. So we'll watch all these little areas today. Excessive rainfall outlook. Not much rain out there right now, but guys, a solid washout is going to move in, and a legit flooding threat for you folks along the I-95 corridor and sections of the Mid-Atlantic, southern New England. I mean, basically from Jersey Shore, Delmarva regions, through Long Island, New York City, southern New England, Boston's including this, even a very small section of New Hampshire and Maine. You guys have a slight risk of flash flooding, which means you have at least a 15% chance of flash flood guidance being met, within 25 miles in any given location. Police take that serious. A little bit of a flooding threat for the Southern California coastline and just inland, but I don't think it'll be a huge concern today, to be honest. Watches, warnings, advisories, doesn't look that active out there, and it really isn't, but we do have the flood watches up for those same areas. You know, chances are, if you live up here, you probably know or have an idea if your county's under a flood watch, so be aware of that. Even some flood watches up for the Outer Banks, the eastern sections, the far eastern counties in North Carolina. We do have some dense fog advisories. Might get some more flash flood warnings. We got one around the Atlanta area right now. Continue to take that serious. Winter weather advisories are continuing up here for a few counties in northwest Minnesota, several counties in northern North Dakota. And we do have some winter weather advisories up ahead for a light wintry weather event for areas of central and west central sections of Nebraska. Winter storm watches up for the Rockies of Colorado. And then we continue to have these winter weather advisories up for Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. Some winter storm warnings continuing, but some of these will be dropped later on today. We do have some winter weather advisories up for the higher elevations of Southern California too, with that little bit of moisture coming in. Just enough cold air to drop a little bit of snow up in those higher elevations of the southern sections of California. So the southeast today, it's a washout right now, will continue to be. It'll be an interesting little feature today as this low kind of pulls out. And man, if these storms were going over land, this would be, a higher end severe weather event today. But we do need to watch these storms. A big surge of moisture as we're getting into about midday really slams eastern North Carolina. But then you got to watch. There's two things going on. Well, there's three things going on. Really a surge of heavy rain hitting eastern North Carolina. If you look at this scattered convection in Georgia beginning to form right here, and then we see these aggressive looking thunderstorms down here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico and Florida. And this kind of continues. These storms will really get going here. And these are the storms you watch for that marginal risk in South Carolina and North Carolina today. And we'll take a closer look at these. These storms right in here can produce some interesting weather later on this afternoon, this evening. And then you got these storms down here in the southern half of Florida. We do want to watch these storms in eastern North Carolina too. But these will continue. We'll try to dry out before another big system moves in later Friday night and a Saturday, and we won't have a whole lot of time to do it, guys. We barely dried out in some of these areas from Friday and Saturday's rain. It was just starting to dry out around here, but now we're getting soaked here in the Carolinas. But then we get into Thursday, and then you can already see the next system on the heels of this one. So we'll just focus on to Wednesday and the Thursday morning with this. Closer look at Florida, guys. Please take the severe weather event serious in Florida today. Don't disregard it just because you have a marginal risk. This is around 2, 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Some storms firing up around Miami points north, but they could be anywhere. You got some powerful storms just off the west coastline of Florida. These will kind of meander in. This is kind of an event where no real storm will stay. A lot of them will kind of explode, if you will, and then kind of implode, and then more will fire up in other areas. But this is around 7 p.m. It's storming like crazy, and the eastern and southeastern shorelines of Florida, even storming around the Fort Myers region. Just take all these serious. We could have some individual spin-ups. We get this, quite often yearly in Florida. So take this 2% risk of a tornado threat serious in Florida today, as these storms really just, you might get a little break this morning, and then here they are refiring this afternoon, kind of sweeping over the peninsula of Florida. So another area we need to watch, and we'll start off around 3 p.m. You got some scattered convection forming. The main push of rain moves out. The atmosphere will try to recover, and you'll still have moist air in this section right here. A little bit of a triple point meets right here where you still have some lift. Real cold, not real cold. I keep wanting to say that, but dry, coolish air nearby with a cold front about to sag through. Very weak cold front. And here's these storms. I know they don't look very impressive, but Columbia, Augusta right in here, Orangeburg, Florence. Watch out for these storms as they kind of pivot through the central and eastern Midlands of South Carolina today, all the way to the coastline. These storms could produce some hail. They could produce a quick spin up. They could. Even though there's no 2% risk of a tornado, take this serious today in this area. And then they will kind of drift into North Carolina, but I do think the ingredients won't be there as much for North Carolina today, but we could have some thunderstorms that do work into the sand hills of North Carolina. Up here in the northeast, Washout conditions move into the Delmarva area later this morning if they aren't already doing so by the time some of you folks watch this. Big wall of water slams New York City. You know, not literally, you know what I'm saying though. A lot of rain starts to move over the area, and you can see these pockets of yellows and oranges and reds. That's really heavy rain. You know, it can pick up in intensity, and you can get like an inch of rain in 30 minutes. It can happen, so just take this serious. And that's when you get flooding, when you can get like an inch of rain in 15 to 30 minutes. That's when the flooding risk really materializes. We get into this evening, just scattered light to moderate, at times heavy rain across the entire Northeast, even some back-end rain kind of moving through West Virginia. Definitely not cold enough for snow. And this would be a monster winter storm if there was cold air. But there is cold air trying to crash down into this precipitation up here in northern Maine. Some heavy snow, heavy wet snow begins to fall. You know, I think Maine will be on the cold side of this. And man, look, this is around midnight, couple hours after. This is some heavy rain moving in overnight in the southern sections of the Northeast. Heavy rain up in the higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire, New York. And I'm telling you, somebody's going to get hit with maybe several inches of wet snow right into here before this pools into Atlantic Canada. And then as we're getting into Thursday morning, could have some really heavy snow into here. In fact, I'm kind of surprised there's no winter weather alerts. And then this kind of moves off, and it could end as some snow tomorrow afternoon in the down east areas of Maine. Even maybe a little bit of snow shower activity sometime late Thursday night. Rainfall for the mid-Atlantic up the I-95 corridor in southern New England. You know, it'll be a quick inch and a half, 2 inches of rain for the Delmarva region up into New Jersey, New York City. 1 to 2 inches of rain. In Long Island, maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain. Southern New England, widespread, you know, anywhere from 1 to as much as 3-4 inches of rain. We go up to New England and what this looks like here. If this will pull up for us, it's just taking its sweet time. This is between now and Thursday midday. We're going to take this a little bit further. I think that's why it was messing up. It's because this room was in the process of moving here. This is between now and Friday morning. Some of this will be snow, but a lot of this is rain. Scattered just inch and a half amounts. How much snow are they going to call for here? Well, it looks like a few inches of wet snow, but this could increase. Somebody could get a half a foot of snow somewhere, of wet snow, but there's going to be some snow on this side of it. Now, my folks up here in New Brunswick, Cape Breton Island, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. Now, we're getting rain this morning. This will continue. Next system moves in. Cold air's crashing on top of this, guys. This is tomorrow morning. If you hear a bird in the video, there's this one bird that just kind of sits out here and chirps its jaws a little bit, just singing out there, and it's very loud. I can hear it in my left ear. But anyways, just ignore it if you hear it. Or, enjoy the singing. But Thursday morning, look at this snow flying around here in New Brunswick, central and northern sections of the area. But, keep your eye on the pink. That's freezing rain. If you're wondering what the orange is, that's sleet. But, these global models don't do the best job on indicating what's falling where as far as that wintry mix sometimes. But kind of you get one push, and then they kind of get it re-amps here. And this is Thursday afternoon. I mean, it's snowing pretty good. Raining for the most part in Nova Scotia. Snowing up here in these regions right here, New Brunswick. It's starting to switch to some wintry weather in Cape Breton Island. Looks like it's going to mainly just start out as wintry weather in Newfoundland. And this continues. Man, and here I go, just brain farting different areas of Canada. This wasn't the area that I forgot in yesterday morning's video. Yeah, Prince Edward Island. I want to call it St. John's Island. Prince Edward Island. It looks like you might start off as some rain, but quickly switch to a wintry mix sometime around midday tomorrow. Might get some freezing rain, switches to snow. I don't know what the local forecasts are calling for this area. I would love some feedback on that. Hit me up on Messenger. A couple people have already done that. I just didn't have the time to pull up some of these folks in Canada that have some graphics, but don't want to take anybody's graphics either too that made them. But we're getting into, this is the European, by the way, we're getting into Thursday evening and tomorrow evening, and I mean we're getting an all-out icing event in Nova Scotia, maybe more so ice than snow in Nova Scotia here. And then this starts to really slam Newfoundland. It already has been, but it really starts to affect you guys Thursday night into Friday morning. And you could go from like freezing rain in the southern areas of Newfoundland to snow. And and you could end to snow in Nova Scotia too, and Cape Breton Island as you're getting into Friday morning. And then this tries to reamp itself right into here and kind of deliver one last really solid, basically, period of snow. So a very long event, and this finally heads on off, as we're getting into Saturday night. So a pretty long event. Here it comes, mostly rain, struggling with cold air. Then eventually it doesn't struggle at all with cold air as high pressure really bogs this down. So, the European ensemble, as far as inches, let's go to centimeters here. Going for widespread, the European ensembles keeping most of the heaviest snow away from Nova Scotia, but you could get anywhere from 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. Cape Breton Island, a little bit more. Once you start to get further and further east on Cape Breton Island, I think you have an opportunity for 15 to 20, 25 centimeters of snow. New Brunswick, the central sections of the areas into Prince Edward Island, anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters of snow based off the European model. But once you get into Newfoundland, someone out here in southeast Newfoundland could get, as far as inches and feet, 1 to 2 feet of snow. We have to watch for this. I'm not sure what they are calling for out here, but, this is going to be a big hitter. Nothing compared to what we saw several weeks ago, I don't think, but certainly a big event out here. And let's see if we can get something. Let me see right here. There used to be chances of, let's see if we can go back to this, go back to that, and let's see. Yeah, it's not wanting to pull up for me. I was looking for the chance to see 6 inches of snow, but I'm really brain farting this on where it is, but don't want to get hung up on it too much. But guys, there is a legit ice risk too, and this is in inches here, so I think y'all go off millimeters out here, but it's trying to say over an inch of ice, of freezing rain. And if you're thinking an inch of ice don't sound like a big deal, that is a huge deal. That's catastrophic ice totals. That is damaging ice totals. But it's saying scattered 1/10 to a 1/2 inch of ice totals around southern New Brunswick. Now I would cut this about 30 to 35%. So where it shows almost 2 inches of ice, cut it down to like maybe 1.25 inches, something like that. But as far as millimeters and what this looks like, going for 46 millimeters of ice, I don't think this is a forecast. I think you need to cut these at least like 30 to 50%. But please take this icing situation serious up in Atlantic, Canada. Please. South Central U.S. today, most of the morning, afternoon will be quiet. Once we get into this evening, some lone storms will form here right in the heart of Texas, and these could produce some gusty winds. Large hail has the potential to be there. It will form and then just kind of get scattered. Won't be a huge deal. Then this will turn more into more of a just kind of like a solid rain event by the time we get into our Thursday morning. Just widespread showers, even some thunderstorms. Elevated thunderstorms are possible in like northern sections of Oklahoma. Maybe around the Springfield, Missouri area, some storms firing off in eastern Oklahoma. And then we'll watch Thursday, and we'll have a separate segment, a little bit deeper of a segment as far as what the short-range models show for the evolution of these storms in Texas for our Thursday. But we'll kind of give you a teaser here, and there's those big storms firing up here, right here into this region. You see you got some nasty storms firing up here tomorrow evening, here, even some storms. Like, we'll have to figure this out here in Colorado today. It looks very interesting with a storm right beside snow. But we'll speak more on that tonight, and we'll kind of speak on the threat level for tomorrow in this video too. But as far as speaking on the short-range model guidance, we'll speak more on that probably tonight's video. We'll continue to deal with a little bit of snow this morning in the northern counties, North Dakota. This will head on off. We'll have this like little thin band of rain or either snow, depending on what's actually falling in your area. Could be a band of snow that kind of makes its way through mainly northeastern sections of South Dakota through Minnesota. This will kind of continue all the way into Thursday morning, and then we'll have the beginning stages of a light to moderate winter weather event in areas of Nebraska, maybe some snow tomorrow about late morning, midday, flying around here in South Dakota also. We'll speak a little bit more on that tonight, but The western U.S., not that active today. Some light to moderate snow will kind of fly around across the central Rockies. Some snow will continue to fall in northern California. But then we'll watch this spin right here, which is going to be the system that's going to be responsible for our severe weather event over the next few days. We'll swing into the central and southern California coastline, and eventually that spin will move into Arizona, bring some rain for central Arizona, and then eventually bring some widespread precipitation for areas of New Mexico. But I don't think it'll be a big deal. But, you know, a closer look at my friends here in California. Here comes the moisture moving in, and there it is down here. Could have some heavier bursts of rain even around the San Fran area, point south down to Santa Barbara, all the way to LA. Some storms will make their way in, and we'll kind of take a closer look at Southern California too. We'll back this up to right here. And here comes this rain. You know, this is getting into around 1 to 2 p.m. I think some storms will move into the LA area, you know, sometime later this afternoon. San Diego, maybe some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder will move in probably, you know, I would say around 5, 6 p.m., give or take an hour. And then some of those higher elevations of Southern California, we'll get a little bit of snow. Not a whole lot, but a couple inches, maybe a few inches. But, you know, you see these kind of areas of darker reds and yellows could get a thunderstorm or two around the San Diego area, Ron. You might get a storm. We'll see what happens here. And then, you know, we start to get into Thursday morning and, you know, could continue to have some light showers around. Ooh, my stomach is rumbling. Definitely ready to eat my eggs here. But the eastern and central U.S., I mean, pretty much across the board, guys, above average temperatures. That's the general theme. Even though it's chillier up here in the Great Lakes region, this is above average temperatures. And then the south, 60s and 70s, Texas, 70s and 80s, you just abruptly have went to spring out here. And then the only areas that's really got any locked in cold air is North Dakota and areas of Montana. And I mean, it's chilly and kind of cold across areas of the northern Rockies, but nothing too crazy. Southwest, definitely warmer and comfortable. I would say it's above average out here. Nothing too bad at all. Be a nice day ahead of this system. But once the rain moves in the clouds, then of course it'll get a little dreary out there. So that's temperatures. Let's talk about these storms. We'll kind of breeze through this. We'll get very detailed tonight. But the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow morning through Friday morning, we have a slight risk for western Oklahoma, the heart of Texas, northern Texas, central Texas, even into the south central areas of the state. Marginal risk surrounds it. Level 1 out of 5 risk. Slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk. What is this driven off of? Well, there is a baby, kind of a very small 2% risk of a tornado, kind of in this from Woodward down the Abilene and just point south, Wichita Falls, Fort Sill, included in this. Some lower populated areas, but guys, I mean, that, you know, there's still people who live here. You know, I think some people might take offense to when I say that. I'm not ignoring you guys at all, and I haven't seen anybody in the comments say anything like that, but I don't want anybody taking any kind of offense to that. But, you know, we still need to take this serious, even if it's lower or higher populated areas. And this could expand some, guys. I mean, it could expand to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to the Oklahoma City area. We'll have to watch, but as of now, a 2% risk of a tornado in that green area. Winds, not a huge deal tomorrow. This could bump up, though. 5% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour. The slight risk is really driven off a hail threat, though. I think we're going to get some big hailstorms tomorrow afternoon, evening, into the overnight hours. Could be a setup where not everybody even gets a drop of rain. You know, I don't think this is going to be widespread storms initially with this. But in the yellow, there's a 15% risk of of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So we're definitely going to have a legit threat of hail tomorrow. And then for our Friday, larger. I think Friday will be the day to watch. I think it could be more of a higher end threat, a higher end slight risk, if that's even a thing, than Thursday or tomorrow. So we have a slight risk in this huge yellow area right into here. This, you know, pretty much goes almost all the way to Dallas, includes Waco, Shreveport, almost up to Little Rock, includes Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, Gulfport, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Okay, all we know right now is that there's a 15% risk of severe weather. As we wake up tomorrow morning, we'll have this fine-tuned as far as what's the biggest threat, but we're probably going to get a 5% risk of a tornado at least in this, and then of course a legit hail threat and wind threat. So And then this is new. Latest information, we now have a 15% risk of winds. I got to quit saying that. A 15% risk of severe weather, okay, in this yellow area for South Georgia, North Florida, Panhandle of Florida. This could extend into the Carolinas in the coming updates. But this is new. This is basically a level 2 out of 5, a slight risk at day 4, which is for our Saturday. So we have a 3-day event out ahead of us. If you count today, a 4-day event. But, you know, when I call it an event, I consider that maybe a slight risk or higher. I mean, that's just Mitch's criteria, but that's not everybody's. But, you know, we need to take this serious here, and we'll have to fine-tune this in the coming days. So what's driving this, and we'll kind of breeze through this. This is an upper low, upper trough, and this kind of gets cut off. It's mainly southern stream dominated, and this is for Thursday morning. As it gets into Thursday afternoon, what's happening here is you're getting a moist flow kind of on the eastern flank of this. So, you know, winds are kind of going like this around this, and, you know, you're even getting a pull right into here already. So this is actually pulling this moist air into this region right here, and there's already kind of moist air over here, but flow around this upper trough, this blue area, which is lower pressure, is going just like that where I drew the arrow. So you're getting a flow out the southwest, a southwesterly flow basically. This is pulling that moist air out of the southern sections of the earth, and that's what's happening. And that's one of the big things we watch out for pretty far out when trying to figure out a severe weather threat a few to several days out. And this will continue, same deal. We get into Friday afternoon, this is still doing the same exact thing I just drew. And then once we get into Saturday, this connects to the northern stream. You saw with the blue connected right here, kind of becomes cold front dominated, but you're still getting a rich, moist feed into the southeast. And then you're probably getting a heightened kinematic wind field because you're getting a combination between the southern and northern stream, which means you're probably getting a stronger storm system. What does this look like on the surface? Here's the low right here, the associated surface low with this upper trough. And I know this looks like just green here, but these are probably going to be thunderstorms right into here. Okay, and then we take it into our Friday afternoon. You notice rain all the way up into Wisconsin, the Great Lakes region, all the way to the Gulf Coast. This system's becoming much larger as it tries to tap into some energy from the northern stream. Low pressure right into here. Okay, you notice how kind of low it is. Chances are anything north of this low has, and this low could be up here, could be down here. But anything north of this low should be stable enough to kind of prevent severe weather, even though you do have a slight risk up into Arkansas. So they're not maybe buying the placement of this low. But you continue to get this. Everybody in green here is probably thunderstorms, heavy rain. And then we get into a Friday morning. Look how this low begins to eject across the eastern U.S., kind of the backside spine of the Appalachian Mountains. We're getting a connection to the northern stream right here. We're getting heavy rain, thunderstorms across the south. And then as we're getting into about midday Saturday, even in Saturday afternoon, we got to watch this energy right down here. This is probably where your best ingredients for severe weather will be, right in here. And then we continue to watch this, guys. And then this is when all eyes kind of go to Sunday. Some interesting stuff could happen for Sunday. And this is, no, we're good. I thought I was going to switch to the 06Z. We got a low right here. It's showing multiple lows, but we got the potential for a big winter storm up here in eastern Canada. But this could be an event that produces really heavy, wet snow for the interior northeast. You can actually see the arrow really kind of zooming into even sections of the Catskills, the Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains, even the Berkshires. And I'm telling you, this could deliver some heavy snow, heavy wet snow for this area. Backside cold air moves in, could bring some snow for everybody. Not a lot, but everybody. Shot of cold air. We'll have to watch any backside energy that kind of consolidates here, gets together. May try to redevelop another low, bring some just snowy kind of conditions for early next week. So we have to watch that. And this will have an opportunity to bring another storm for Atlantic Canada. As far as the ingredients for severe weather, as this upper low moves in, remember I told you it was pulling up that rich, moist air? Well, this is an example of it. These are dew points, 50s and 60s for the south central U.S., getting pulled up from that upper low. And if you keep this in motion here, we're starting to get into Friday morning. I mean, look at Friday morning, guys. Dew points in the 60s and 70s for eastern Texas, Louisiana, southern sections of Mississippi. And then we start to get into our Friday afternoon, Friday evening, you see how the best moisture is really confined right into this area? And, you know, it shows that surface low right into here. And if you notice, anybody north of this area I'm circling, dew points in the 50s, 40s, 30s. Very stable air, probably no severe weather. But if you're tucked into this moist sector right in here where dew points in the 60s and 70s, you have an opportunity for severe weather. Starting to get into Saturday morning, and then you get into Saturday afternoon. And you notice how the Euro is kind of uptrended with the moisture from the last couple videos, where you're getting dew points as high as the upper 70s into Columbia, down here to the Panhandle, Florida, Georgia. This area right here needs to watch out for severe weather. And then the atmosphere clears out with the approaching associated cold front. You mix this with the climatic environment also, folks, and this is the climatics wind shear. Basically, this area you see in the purples, the reds, that is winds about 18,000 feet up in the air, pushing, for example, in this case in Texas and Louisiana, 70 to 75 knots. I mean, that's over interstate speed, way, way above our heads. This is providing wind energy needed for severe weather, lift for thunderstorms, and this becomes ample in nature as we start to get into Friday afternoon right here across the deep south, and that's why we're going to have widespread thunderstorms in this area. But you notice as we are getting into our Saturday, look how this mid-level jet really increases with an associated low-level jet that's probably increasing too. And we have to watch the evolution of these storms, but you got an 80, 90, maybe 95 knot mid-level jet. We probably could get a big wind event across the southern Alps region too with this. You combine this with that moisture I showed you, overlapping ingredients, you could have a severe weather threat. You will likely have a severe weather threat across the southeast. So there is going to be a snow risk. And, I kind of talked about that just a second ago. Check out this signal for heavy snow. And I don't want to ignore my folks in the upper Great Lakes region. You could get some snow with this. But, man, there's a pretty solid signal for the Northeast, guys, for this event. The signal starts to really increase as we get to the end of this weekend. And this is in 2-day periods. That's a, 10 to 12 inch snowfall mean across the higher elevations of the interior Northeast. And there's even a snowfall mean into Boston and southern New England too. So that's something we have to watch. We have to watch this system. Could be a heavy hitter interior New England kind of late season snow event for you folks. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful day. And like I said, I will be with you guys this evening. God bless.